I am in D.C. You are in Syracuse.
Yes, and our next guest is in D.C. as well, or at least on his way to D.C., getting set to call NC State Louisville tonight and Miami Boston College. The Hall of Famer, Jim Boeheim, joining us here on the show. Coach, great to have you on. How are you today?
Everything's good down here. Ready to go. It's kind of warm day in D.C.
All right, so it is a game day for you. Curious how game day differs now versus the last 47 years when you were the head coach of Syracuse.
Well, there's no anxiety because I'm not concerned about who's going to win. I just get prepared for the game like I would if I was coaching, and kind of get to know both teams, and then get ready to go on air and talk about the game, and you're just not worried about the outcome. So that's a good thing, and fun to do. I'm looking forward to these games. It's fun doing tournament games because these are last chance opportunities for teams, and they all think they can get it going and win some games, and something good can happen. So it's fun to do the games, and of course I'll be here all week doing some studio stuff right on the court before and after games too. So it's a long week, but I'm looking forward to it.
Coach, you mentioned that some teams got a chance to do something, and it appears the ACC needs to do a lot of work, according to people, and it looks like three teams. And what do you think about the ACC, and who do you think should be in out of the ACC?
Well, if it was just on merit and not the net, which is a false narrative completely, we would have obviously the four teams that are in. I think Virginia, I think is in. I think Clemson, I think Duke and North Carolina. I think, in my mind, Pittsburgh's way in the tournament, and I think Wake Forest is in. I think the unfortunate thing about a possible Wake Forest-Pitt game is that they'll use that to eliminate one of the teams, even though they shouldn't. So, I think we should have six in. I think based on watching teams play, you got teams that are 17 and 14 in the tournament. I don't get that. You've got teams from, I think, really weak conferences that have never done anything in the NCAA tournament in the tournament. And the ACC, the fourth place team, Pittsburgh, with 7 road wins. I believe they're in the tournament because in the past, looked at road wins. So I believe Pitt will be in the tournament. People mention, well, their non-conference schedule is weak. So is 10 other teams that are already in the tournament. So I think we should get 6, but I think we deserve 6, but I don't know if we will get 6. And a team like Syracuse plays well here. We're 21 and 10, and 11-9 in the league. Some really good wins. I think Syracuse should be under consideration. We're not even under consideration, so we probably have to almost win the tournament or get to the finals anyway. But I think the ACC has been undervalued for the last 2 or 3 years, and it's largely because of the net. The net is not just a tool. The net determines whether you have quad 1 wins or not. So quad 1 wins are what gets you in the tournament, basically, if you're close. And you get those from the net. And you could be winning games against net teams that have good nets, but they're really not great teams. And that's very possible to have that scenario. So we'll see what happens, but it doesn't look great right now.
You bring up Syracuse, and yeah, we know they've got to go on a run. And, you've been a part of some great runs in conference tournaments. Certainly the 2006 run with Jerry comes to mind. What is it going to take for this particular Syracuse team to go on a run? Do you think Judah is capable of kind of putting the team on his back? What will it take for them to win 3-4 games down in D.C. this week?
Well, it won't be just Judah. They all have to play well. They're 6 sophomores. They're young kids. When we've shot the ball well this year, we've won, and we've beaten really good teams on the road. Pittsburgh, North Carolina State's a tough team to beat on the road. We made shots. North Carolina at home, we made a lot of shots. So we have to shoot well. Defensively, we've got to be a little bit better. But it's mainly when we score, we're really tough to beat, and I think we can do that in this tournament.
You know, we were reminded before the show today, and we started the show talking about this is the anniversary of the 6 overtime game 15 years ago today, 15 years ago tonight. You know, when you look back on that night, Coach, what I'm sure you get asked about it a lot, but what comes to mind for you? Is it the game? Was it something after the game? I mean, what comes to mind from that night for you?
I know there's a couple of things. I mean, just being behind in the first 5 overtimes and somehow getting tied in each one is something that's always in my back of my mind. But after we won, walking back out across the court, and Jay Billis and Sean McDonough and Bill Raftery were sitting there at 1:30 and still recapping some things. And I said, well, you guys will get good contracts after this game. And they all did. They all did too. It was an unbelievable night, and it's just one that's burned in every Syracuse fan's memory, where they were that night, what they were doing, and how they ended up watching the game. Even if they didn't start watching the game, they ended up watching the game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. What a night that was, and I know, Paulie, you got to experience it up close and personal. I was back at Syracuse working TV that night. It was one of those nights that we will all remember, no matter where we were. When you look at this tournament, Coach, Carolina, the 1 seed, a lot of good teams in the ACC, as we've discussed. Who do you kind of give the edge to? If you had to pick a winner right now, who's your favorite? Is it Carolina? Is it somebody else?
No, it's Carolina. I mean, they've been the best team in the league all year. To go into Duke and win last week and the weekend, they're clearly the best team. Obviously, Duke could win. I think I still think Clemson's really good. I think Wake Forest can score points against anybody. At the end of the day, though, it'll probably come down to Duke and North Carolina. They've been the 2 best teams in the league all year.
Coach, we've been discussing something. The date for the transfer portal entrance is the day after Selection Sunday. Do you think that's going to start affecting teams that make the NIT, where players are going to opt out like they do lower level bowl games in college football?
I don't think so. I think if you're in the NIT, if you want to transfer, you want to play well there, so you get more teams interested in you. It'll be interesting to see this year, especially. I think each year it's gotten, does a really good player and a kind of a bad team try to transfer someplace, or a really good player at a team that doesn't have a lot of NIL? Does he try to transfer someplace to get NIL money? I think those are all questions that we're going to be looking at as we move forward, and I don't think we have the answers to that. I know that it's crucial. We learned our lesson, I think, from losing Jesse Edwards, that we have to retain the players we have, and then obviously be aware of the transfer portal. I think we'll have our guys come back. I really do. I think obviously Judah will probably go. Speculation on my part a little bit, but he said that. But I think the other guys will stay, and I think we've got a couple really good recruits, and I think we'll get guys back that were hurt. Chance Westry and the 2 centers. I think Peter Carey. I think that McLeod. I think they can be good players. So I think we're looking at a pretty deep, pretty solid basketball team next year, with all these sophomores being juniors. So I think that we're in a good position, and I think Adrian has done obviously a tremendous coaching job and a tremendous recruiting job to get us in the right position for next year. I think we're in great position, and that's all credit to Adrian and the coaching staff, what they've done.
And along those lines, Coach Autry finishing 3rd in the Coach of the Year voting. All the ACC awards were announced yesterday. Judah made 2nd team. Malik was all defensive team. Anything stand out to you from the ACC awards being announced yesterday?
Well, I think that Quadir should have been the sixth man of the year. I really thought he was the best sixth man. He had the biggest impact on games. But I think the awards were pretty good. I think there's always a surprise or two in the award season. But, I know there's a lot of conjecture in Syracuse on Fopowski's move at the end of the Duke game.
Right.
There's no question that there was a trip involved there. I think that the league looked at it. I just think they decided not to do something. I'm not big on suspending people. I don't think that's the right way to go. And when a kid just reacts to something, kind of like what Buddy did, he was pushed, he reacted to it. I thought that was a non-suspension issue, and I really wouldn't suspend Filipowski for this. He should have been looked. I'm surprised they didn't talk about it. When Buddy's thing happened, they immediately went on ESPN, and Seth Greenberg was talking about suspension.
Yeah,
right away. So I don't know why nothing was said at all in this case. Because it certainly it was something that needed to be mentioned. It happened. It was not like it didn't happen. It did happen. But I'm not for suspending players. I don't think that it has to be a real, we'll turn around and swing and punch somebody or something like that we're intentionally go after somebody. But, other than that, I think the league, I thought Adrian did it was unusual this year. Shrewsbury did an unbelievable job at Notre Dame, Stoudemire at Georgia Tech. I mean, Georgia Tech was, not picked anything. They beat the three top teams in the league. I mean, it's almost crazy to think that they did that. But that speaks to how good the league is, that the last down at the bottom teams beat, the top two or three teams in the league. That's really good depth in your league, and I don't think we're getting credit for that.
Yeah, one of the most bizarre resumes you'll ever see with Georgia Tech, as you said, they beat the three best teams, and here they are, the number 13 seed. Real quick, you've got a couple games today. How do you see those two playing itself out? You've got NC State and Louisville, BC, Miami. How do you see those two games playing themselves out?
Well, I think NC State's dangerous, and obviously we would get them. I think that's the team we would get, right? And I think that, we went down there, if Chris Bell makes 8 straight threes, we'll probably beat him again. But, that's hard to do. So that'll be a difficult game for us. And I think they'll win. And I think Boston College has beaten Miami twice. Miami's really struggled at the end of the year from being in good position at one point. So, but they'll be good games. These teams will play hard. The thing about the tournament, the people that don't like tournaments, the players love these things. They want to play. There's something they love to be involved in, and I think this will be a great tournament. Just like the NCAA tournament coming up will be a fabulous tournament. No matter who gets in, it's going to be a lot of great, tough games, and it'll be hard for the best teams to get through.
Well, listen, Coach, it's always a pleasure chatting with you. Thanks for finding some time for us on a busy work day. Enjoy your time down there in D.C. at the ACC tournament.
Coach,
hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Coach, I got one thing. If you're free, I'm free to hang out if you'd like.
Probably, I don't think I have. I have a list of guys I would never hang out with. Your name is right there, right on the top.
All right, I'm free if you're available.
Coach, be well. Thanks for coming on. Jim Boeheim.
Drop the caller.
Drop the mic. Drop the mic just like that. I remember one time he told you that he wouldn't even drive to Wigwams with you.
Yes. So, I figured I'd end with if you want to hang out with me.
Yeah, you're free. Imagine that, Paulie. You're free.
He literally hung up. There's no way.
The mic drop. All right. That was classic. All right. We're going to take a timeout. We've got Mike Clay coming up at 1:30. We'll kick off hour number 2 next. I've got to recover from that. We're back after this on ESPN Radio.